What is up, guys? Rick Hack is here with the review of the M44 bolt-action Marksman Rifle Variant in the Division, a gun that makes getting 1,000,000 damage easy. Now remember that there are several different gun types within this gun variant. You can get classic M44s, you can get hunting M44s, among others. The main difference between these variants is simply that they can utilize different attachments. For example, the classic M44 may only be able to use certain muzzle attachments, whereas a hunting M44 might be able to utilize different muzzle attachments. So that's really the only main difference. Aside from that, the damage is generally the same, although there are some slight damage variations, and rate of fire and magazine size are identical no matter which gun type within the M44 variant. So that's why we're reviewing the M44 variant as a whole today. But before we get started on the review of the M44, let's take a look at my M44 that you'll be seeing in the gameplay in the background. Now, I am one of the best players in the entire world at getting complete trash rolls on my gun in the Division, and the M44, it's actually not bad. This M44 that I have, despite it being not the greatest gear score, again, there's nothing I can do about that, just getting unlucky, but the reason I kept it and the reason I'm using it for this video is because it has arguably the best, if not the best, one of the best perks you can hope to spawn on pretty much any marksman's rifle, and especially the M44. Now that perk is brutal, giving you 24% more headshot damage. That is absolutely insane with a marksman's rifle that obviously you're already going for those headshots, and increasing the damage by basically a quarter, and then that's going to also increase your overall critical hit damage because critical hit is multiplied from your original headshot damage. That's just a fantastic perk to have on any marksman's rifle. Additionally, it does come with extra stability, and although this really isn't great and I would trade it for a ton of other perks, it's not terrible. The reason being is because when you're shooting this rifle at as fast as its rate of fire will allow for, the extra stability does kind of come up. It basically just means that this gun will recoil away from the target a little bit less, making follow-up shots just a little bit more easy. Now, as for the perks I would recommend looking out for in your M44 rolls, basically it would just be anything that increases damage. The brutal perk is the best example. 24% more headshot damage, that's absolutely fantastic. But basically anything that increases, damage at 40 plus meters, or critical hit damage, or critical hit chance, all of that stuff is excellent when looking for the M44. Because it is a bolt action rifle and it shoots a little slower, some of the stability perks like balanced aren't actually as necessary on this marksman's rifle as they are for other semi-automatic ones like the M1A. Now on to the actual review of the M44, and is it any good? Well, the thing I said at the beginning of the video, it can get 1,000,000 plus damage. I think as you're seeing from the gameplay, that is totally true. And I am using 4 Sentry's Call gear pieces in this video, so I am getting the full Sentry's Call gear benefit, which is simply that after I get a headshot with a weapon, I increase the damage dealt to that target from all sources by 15%. That stacks 3 times up to 45%. So once I'm stacking Sentry's Call, the 1,000,000 damages are popping up a lot more often. Heck, it's like, 1,300,000, 1,600,000 crazy damages popping up because of Sentry's Call. But as you can see from this clip here, even without Sentry's Call, it's very possible to get 1,000,000 damage crits on enemies with the M44. And I think the only bonus that was in that clip was a pulse with an increase to critical hit damage. And that right there is the main benefit of using the M44. Its per shot damage is extremely high. Now, it will be beaten by other semi-automatic marksman's rifles like the M1A in damage output over time. Over 10 seconds, a really good M1A roll is just going to beat a really good M44 roll because it just shoots so much faster. But that doesn't always matter in every single scenario, and per shot damage is definitely a factor that matters in the Division. For example, if you're doing the incursion, and especially if you're doing the incursion on challenging, you can run into trouble if you try to get overzealous with coming out of cover and engaging other enemies. That's simply because other enemies do so much damage to you, especially enemy snipers. So coming out of cover and landing 10 plus shots with an M1A is not always the most viable. unreliable, and you may only get 1 or 2 shots on an enemy with your M1A before you have to retreat. So why not make those 1 or 2 shots deal as much damage as they possibly can? And that is the main reason for using the M44. If you're only going to get 1 shot on an enemy before you're, melted by a rusher or whatever, melted by an enemy sniper, and you have to retreat into cover, you might as well make that 1 shot do millions of damage. And again, that's where the M44 shines. Its damage over time is lacking for Marksman's Rifle, but its per shot damage is excellent. It's also just a great feeling gun because it lets you feel like an actual sniper. You're using this bolt-action rifle which has a pretty damn high chance of actually killing enemies in a single headshot, even on those higher difficulties. And getting a headshot on a rusher that's charging at you and being able to take him out with a single shot is one of the best feelings in the Division. However, it is a little easy when using this gun to become distracted by how high you can make those damage numbers go, and you forget that it does have a huge downside, and that is its performance in close quarters. If you miss a headshot, it is not going to end well, so make sure if you're running the M44, you have to be running a gun that can cope in close quarters, like an SMG, like a powerful assault rifle, as your other weapon. Running the M44 and a light machine gun is probably a bad idea. And that definitely comes into play in the Dark Zone as well. Although it is fun using this weapon in the Dark Zone, you're able to one-shot headshot a lot of the purple enemies especially. You're going to engage a lot of players in the Dark Zone in close quarters, and therefore the M44 kind of loses out to other things that can be used better in a close quarters scenario like the M1A. Now let's move on to what attachments I would recommend using on the M44. And I would really just recommend any attachment that has anything to do with damage. So when you're talking about a muzzle attachment, finding one that increases critical hit chance is very important. For the sight, finding something that increases headshot damage and critical hit chance, that's excellent. And for the magazine attachments, we have kind of the most play, because you can basically take 2 paths with this gun with your magazine attachment. The first path is that you can try to fix some of this gun's weaknesses. You can use a magazine that increases the magazine size. The 5-round magazine isn't great. Extending that all the way up to 10 is definitely going to help, and increasing the rate of fire is also going to help with this weapon. Or the second path you can take is one that really just tries to accentuate this gun's existing strengths, and that's what I did. I tried to do this path by putting on a magazine attachment that increases weapon damage, just pure weapon damage increased by 13%, and increased a critical hit chance as well. So just purely focusing on this gun's existing strength, which is its incredible per shot damage. And although you certainly can do either of those strategies, I would have to recommend the strategy of just playing to this gun's strength. Don't try to turn it into a faster firing, higher capacity marksman's rifle like an M1A. Play to its strengths and just try to increase that damage as much as possible. Try to get the biggest numbers you possibly can, because that's going to make this gun not only effective, but also very fun. Now that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating or sharing this video. If you have suggestions for other guns that you'd like to see reviewed in the Division, leave it in the comment section down below. Now if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day. Now, I've heard more and more players complain that the new leveling system installed into Destiny with the April update is just too easy. I mean, most players are sitting around at the new max light level of 335 bored out of their skulls, right? Wrong. I think that the leveling system as it is right now in Destiny is the best it's ever been, and I'm campaigning for it to stay for Destiny expansions in the future and for Destiny 2.